Just that moment was so exciting. There's a desire to play for that beautiful team and in their beautiful way. And at the same time, there was a part of me I noticed that came up that there was fear.
You need to include the possibility of losing to be able to play to win.
When we watch soccer, something happens that has nothing to do with soccer and everything to do with it. Welcome to the Golden Ball, where depth psychology and the beautiful game help us play life better. My name is John O'Brien, former World Cup soccer player and sports psychologist.
And my name is Akke-Jeanne. I'm a psychotherapist, the founder of Jungian platform and lover of the game of soccer.
My name is Akke-Jeanne. I'm a personal development coach, a Jungian teacher, and co-founder of Jungian platform.
Today we're going to explore when winning matters. So there are these moments that winning really matters. Like we're coming up to the semifinals and the finals in the World Cup. And this is very important. Also in life, there will be moments when winning matters. Whether that is winning for a job interview or any other form of winning that you can, when performing, really matters. So we're going to explore that.
Yeah, I'd love to start with just the language there, right? Because when winning matters, right? One definition is it's important, but another is matter, like the physical thing, matter, right? And when we think of matter, there's a solidity to it. There's a density to it. There's a gravity or weight, right? And all these things, like language is so beautiful in having multiple meanings and trying to describe these experiences, because there's something about this that's very physical, right? When big moments come up, there's pressure density, and often players still need to find some lightness or airiness, right? For athletes when they're in big moments, and for other people probably in job interviews, there needs to be some looseness, some air, some space, right? And I love all these language terms because they really map on well to what we're feeling in our body. When we feel dense and pressure and weight, we're going to be heavy and it's going to be kind of closed down. And the opposite, if we can feel airy, light, fluid, if we can let energies come through us, these are all things that often help us in big moments. So I just wanted to anchor this conversation in the language we use to describe it.
And I can immediately, what you're saying, link to a moment just in the game that was before. Like, you know, that penalty moment, my favorite moment, that someone is standing behind that ball. And you can always see players take a moment to connect with themselves or to get into some kind of zone. And I saw this in Mbappe's ball, and then there was some distraction by the referee. And I could just, looking at him, I felt it in my body. It got tighter and tighter, the moment and the pressure increases, and then he missed unfortunately. But that moment of the body getting tighter, as you need that fluidity, that is a fascinating moment to watch in games.
Yeah, there was that moment probably from France to Morocco, where he had to wait 3 minutes before he actually finally could take it. So a lot of, in John's way of seeing it, a lot of matter accumulated on him. And how do you not let too much matter press you down? And yet, how do you materialize the outcome anyway? Yeah, that's a great exploration for today.
Yeah, and sticking with soccer, I'm thinking of also like heavy legs. Like sometimes people just feel the heaviness of it. Their legs are heavy and they can't kind of run as much. But then it also affects their brains. Like when there is that pressure and density, often players resort to like simple solutions and just doing things. There's no creativity, there's no lightness, there's no ingenuity that can kind of come through it as well. So it's really a common experience in big moments, I think. And like developing awareness, like, oh, this is what I'm feeling more pressure now, right? That's one part of it, right? And that gives you the opportunity to then be able to, okay, like let it go and practice that skill of trying to find kind of a lighter space for yourself to perform in.
Yeah, because you, Akke-Jeanne, really have a very high percentage that you can see just based on how a person prepares for that penalty, whether it goes in or not.
Yeah.
Well,
I always, because I'm so fascinated by that moment, like, can you predict what is happening? And of course, I make my mistakes as well. And sometimes the camera doesn't zoom in properly on the face or the body of a player. But it's almost like they check in with something within themselves, almost letting go of the pressure, freeing themselves up to go with it. And sometimes you see that a player is almost talking himself into something rather than the relaxation. And if there's a moment of relaxation, there's a higher chance, I think, to score. That's what I do. You recognize?
What do you mean with this talk himself into something?
Well, you see people take a moment, but there's a focus. But what do they really do in that moment of focus? What I observed that I think works well, if there's some almost shoulders going down, a surrender to the moment, like I'm ready. That is the moment that they score. Or if you see like there's a high energy almost in the eyes, as if they're still envisioning, then it goes more often wrong. But John, how was this? You are the player on the field, or you've been the player on the field.
Yeah, I mean, these moments you really need to practice in less pressure-filled moments. You need to like just get a routine, right? That you're talking about, all the physiological things you're talking about, like where can you have a little relaxation and a little and kind of have focus where you can still stay in the moment, right? I like the idea of actually like smiling a little bit because that often relaxes your whole physiology. And it might not be appropriate before a penalty kick to kind of go up with a smile. Like that might not feel appropriate, but it is physiologically, it's something that helps people relax a little bit. So it's really huge to have moments to kind of prepare for this and work at these moments and get your kind of routine nailed down. So those are the big moments. And right, I think in this podcast, we're really talking sports psychology specific, like a tool for managing pressure. I think here we also want to talk about kind of the underlying meaning of these big moments, what they could mean, because they are threshold moments, right? If whatever team's going to win the World Cup final, it's going to make a difference for those players. It's going to make a difference for that country. It's going to be in the history books, right? It's going to matter. It's going to be written down in this way and be fixed in some way. So that's also like a parallel kind of process that's going on for what does winning actually mean for people or losing.
Yeah. And then we're kind of back to episode 1, what is the goal? And if you place too much I must win on your own performance, then you put a knife to the throat that only winning is acceptable and only very high performance. And then it becomes more difficult to course correct. Very often when you start something really important, you might be a bit nervous. You see in the beginning of the game that the players are a little bit more likely to pass a ball horizontal instead of making a more daring ball to cross a line, or that the ball jumps off your feet. And if you then tell yourself, I must win, then you get actually out of alignment or out of yourself. And if you can find a different way that what's more known as play to win. So play to win is just like that internal goal, which has the highly likelihood that there will be an outer win or an outer goal. You have to have a mentality shift so that you get in that space where you can win.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking, what you're saying, Michiel, it's almost like you need to include the possibility of losing to be able to play to win.
Exactly.
Like there needs to be some kind of acceptance, which is really a paradox in itself.
Yeah. Well,
because otherwise it's almost like a straitjacket.
Yeah, it's too rigid. And all research shows that if a system is fragile, it is a much stronger system. And if you take out that fragility by only winning, you get a non-fragile system that doesn't work well.
And I'm also thinking the type of pressure, So it seems like it's good to have pressure. To leave your comfort zone. In the moment that you leave your comfort zone in life is when there's a little bit of tension. But then the amount of tension is very important. So what are your thoughts about that, John? That amount of how do you develop that?
Yeah,
dealing with that
to add
tension.
to it, I think there's so much matter that presses you down. By that comes from playing a World Cup or some really important things. And so indeed, how do you infuse that with a different substance so you don't get leaden legs and wooden it looks like you play with wooden shoes instead of soccer shoes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're talking about kind of top-down techniques, right? Using the mind in some way to try to manage your physiology.
Yeah.
Right, in order to perform well. And I think there's also a bottom up, right? Like what, and that's a little bit more kind of connected to purpose and like, why do you play? Why do you want this moment? Why do you want that job? Like, what's the desire and how that's infused? If that's not there and you have a big moment, right, the pressure-filled moment, but there's no desire to kind of win the World Cup, usually it becomes like a disruptive pressure, right, where it's just all pressure. There's nothing you're really trying to get out of it. So I kind of think in those two ways, top down and bottom up. And this develops over time, right, our ability to manage big moments and find our way through it, to find our strategies that work for us.
I think you're right. If you have a big moment, it needs to matter. If you disconnect from I don't mind, then that is just a defense strategy to, hey, this is important. I want to win the World Cup, and you cannot go in a bit blasé like it doesn't matter whether I win or not. No, it should matter to you. And there comes that playing to win. And then there's a whole set of little techniques you're in that perspective that can help you to play to win. From the breathing techniques, from changing this internal critical voice of when you make a little mistake, allowing fragility to enter. Very often the coach will say, just have fun to the players.
Mm-hmm. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it, guys. It's the World Cup final.
Yeah.
Enjoy it, right?
Yeah, enjoy it. But the question is a little bit how, if you're stiff from the nerves.
I'm wondering if the focus, rather than on winning, but more on the realization of your own potential, like we talked about in the first episode, that inner goal, that if you focus on the own realization, like I hope, and I'm going all in, wholeheartedly. And I hope that I get to express, I get to express myself. That is a way of saying I'm playing to win, to win the most space, internal space, expressive space. That's what I'm in. And if that leads to winning and scoring a goal, that's nice. But it's almost like it's coming second, or it's coming after. I'm going to give it my best.
Yeah, I think in big moments, it's really more about managing the pressure and density than it probably is about your ability, your competence, right? Like, the players playing in the World Cup final are going to be great players, and they'll have different levels of competence. But I think like the bigger challenge is, especially for those younger players who haven't been there before, it's going to be about managing that density for them and trying to find some space where they can play a little bit free and where they can be focused on what they're doing.
Yeah. So you don't need a coach who says you must do your best and this is your one chance, and if you don't win this, you maybe never get to a world final again. That is adding matter.
Yeah. Right. That might be important for a game where people are too casual, right? A coach to step in that way, a little bit critical and try to bring up the arousal level.
Yeah.
But for a game like this, it's usually, yeah, we're doing the same thing. We're here, we're together, enjoy it, right? It's trying to lighten it and give specific tasks, right? Watch out when we turn over the ball the next 5 seconds or whatever, try to get in position, whatever it is to try to kind of orient the mind so the mind can kind of stay on track of what the best strategy is to get the result it wants.
Yeah. And when you're saying that as well, I think we've seen several teams going in, but playing quite defensively. And defensive playing in itself is not so much problematic, but it becomes problematic if you don't create anything new anymore, if you don't create any new opportunities. So it's almost like, yeah, those people are in it to win, yet it has gone lost somehow or it leads to being very defensive. And I wonder, because that's of course why depth psychology is so interesting, what is happening there? Because the conscious intention is, hey, we're going to go all in. I enjoy this. I want to, and then something happens and it appears as fear or very defensively.
Well, if you think you're the underdog or that you're not so good and you need to do this, and sometimes a person and a team misinterprets their own skill set or overestimates the skill set of the opponent. Some countries come in, like Brazil, with 5 World Cup wins behind their in their history, and so you look up to them, and it's hard to see through a history sometimes. And I think the Netherlands fell into that trap with Morocco to consider themselves too much an underdog, where it wasn't really necessary to that extent.
Yeah.
And then Morocco did it with France. Yeah.
I think France was just that they still tried. That France was just really
true.
really good.
I wonder if this is a good opportunity to pivot. There was a story I was thinking about, and this will change a little bit more from managing the moment to these threshold moments and what they mean for people, right, on a deeper level. So when I was at Ajax, and it was after I think 2002, 2003 season, I had a really good season. And there was a moment where there was a presidential election at Barcelona. And how that works is behind the scenes, these candidates go out and try to get in touch with different players and see if they would come if they became president. So I had a meeting with this potential president of Barcelona, which was really exciting. I went to this like really fancy financial building and walked in, a big boardroom, and it was kind of like a secret meeting because you're not supposed to really meet, but it was like, it's exciting. But I remember that moment, and I remember, wow, like this opportunity, maybe I could go to Barcelona. The guy ended up not winning the election, not coming close. But just that moment was so exciting. There's a desire to play for that beautiful team and their beautiful way. And at the same time, there was a part of me I noticed that came up, there was fear. It's like, I don't know if I could handle that. I don't know if I could handle being in the spotlight that much. I don't know if I could handle moving out of my kind of social network that I'd built in Amsterdam of people who were good to me, kept me grounded, felt like parts of my identity were reflected back. So at the time, I didn't realize this, but there was definitely a fear of like taking on a next step. And I think that's also inherent in these big threshold moments, whether it's getting a new job or landing some sort of opportunity, right? That fear can also arise. So I want to take some time to kind of explore that on that level.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you see it as frame it as a threshold moment, of course, there is something actually to lose. It's not just a small change or a random shift. Something old will die, and something new is about to emerge. And we're not sure at all what we're saying yes to or what will unfold. So there's a big chunk of unknown, and there's an actual loss of something old. Who you were in that, like a World Cup player who was the one who potentially would win the World Cup, or the little boy with the dream, coming to a point where the dream, being the one who didn't see the dream realize. And that is more than just a thought. Like there's something real there.
Yeah, before I want to add something quick, and then Michiel will hear your ideas. But like, I think for a lot of athletes, they can really identify and feel comfortable in the underdog role. Right? I want to fight. I want to be there. I want to beat the best. But winning, you become the champion, right? And all of a sudden, you're not the underdog, right? And it has very different effects on how you see yourself and how you're motivated. And a lot of people sometimes don't like that as well. So
Yeah.
something I notice.
A typical coach for the underdog is Dick Advocaat. And he's a Dutch coach, and he did fantastically well with Curaçao, which is one of the smallest nations ever to have participated in the World Cup, and he did well. But it's in his psychology to be a coach of the underdog. You could even see it in '94 when the Dutch team went to the US for the World Cup, that he played as an underdog. Well, the Dutch team had the potential to win the tournament. And but it was only when the Netherlands was 2-0 behind Brazil that the Dutch team started attacking. So we saw 30 minutes of Dutch soccer, and then they did well because they got back to 2-2 on that in that 30 minutes, and they lost the game after all. But we've just seen at that tournament 30 minutes of Dutch soccer from which you play as the upper dog, because someone has the fear mentality of an underdog. So that was how that doesn't work well. So fear can be adding a massive amount of matter to the pressure, and it is a lot of How do you deal with that?
Yeah, and I think there the question is really because it's almost like a shift in identity as well. Like you're losing something old or who you were, and you're going to be someone new. And so the typical Jungian question, who am I asked to become because of this challenge, because of the game, because of me playing? Who am I asked to become? Because really, who are you asked to become if you're suddenly shifting from underdog to upper dog? Like that is a real change, and maybe a small one, but
well, that would have been for Dick Advocaat, not for the team. The team was an upper dog by nature. Mm-hmm. The coach.
Michiel, I really want you to write a book on coaches, Dutch coaches analyzed from a depth psychology perspective. I feel like you have so many insights, and you're really interested in about how their personalities shape their coaching.
Yeah.
Which they do, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
add the wrong or the right matter. So in the performance, your coach can add matter to it, and how do you deal with that in these threshold moments? It is a threshold moment. Is just completely letting go, and that is where it is so difficult. There's not even.
Can you say more? You're saying a threshold moment asks you to let go?
Yeah, to totally participate in the now. So the even steps. One is, yes, you are invited to become someone else, but it is not that you think, oh, who is this someone else? Let me become that. You have to participate fully in the now, and then something else will emerge, and it cannot be predicted. You cannot mentally think, oh, I need to be this or that. It is being in the now so that the creativity can flow through you. And in order to do that, you need to have these matter walls a bit porous. And you can do that by all these techniques that we talked about, embodiment techniques, meditation, thinking strategies. But there lies the sweet spot of mattering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking in my work with athletes, like what I'm often doing is inviting in fear, giving it a name, right? There's the idea of name it to tame it. Or like just inviting it in, naming it can help people relax, can help people problem solve things. And there could be just a lot of reasons that fears come up as we're going through these thresholds. Like you said, is it like that idea of maybe there's some shadow elements I need to incorporate? What am I asked to becoming that I'm not comfortable with yet? Right? My ego's not comfortable with maybe being confident and being kind of the leader. Is it, fear of relational costs? There was, I remember being in the Ajax locker room, and Christian Kivu was a young defender, probably 19 at the time, maybe 20. He was a fantastic player, really a lot of emotional intelligence, good in the locker room. So naturally, like he was someone the coach wanted to be a captain. But I remember Ronald Koeman at the time, like, hey, giving him the captain's armband and kind of teaching him on how to do that. And Kivu didn't really want him. He wanted to be one of the guys still, right? He didn't want to have that role where I'm kind of the leader a little bit, because there's a little bit, there can be a cost, right? If he's a captain and someone he's separating, sometimes that means people are envious. Sometimes they're angry at leaders, right? There's all kinds of feelings that can come your way in terms of relationships when you are winning and kind of stepping up in success levels.
Yeah. Yeah. Envy, Joe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what I'm also taking from what you're saying, like that unfolding process, like the process of becoming. So you're put in a position, you're asked to become or to develop something. And that, of course, doesn't happen overnight, but it's an attunement with yourself, just like in that creative impulse, really staying close to yourself. It might not go at the pace that is pleasant for the ego. It might take you in directions where you've got to face parts of yourself that you are not particularly fond of. So there's a lot in that process of becoming, or in the process of natural unfolding. That is almost untamable. It's like we do not really control it. We're in the process of discovery. So that control mechanism,
Mm-hmm.
as a fear response, might really be in the way.
Yeah. Generates too much matter.
Mm-hmm. I love that you, kind of acknowledge that sometimes the outer timeline doesn't fit our inner timeline, right? That sometimes these things come up, these threshold moments, we're not ready for them. It's not what we want right then, right? And do you engage? Do you not? right? I think often there's exploration there, but often it can be really growth provoking if you do engage, right? If you do engage and kind of go through the process and try, that's how people kind of change and develop.
Yeah. Well, it is always when
Yeah.
people start at are at the threshold that there are inevitably some fear responses. And even, whichever, whether it's the World Cup final, there will be some fear responses, or stepping up the plate. And I think these Eastern temples, they display it when you enter. You have always these two kind of monsters at the door. They represent these scary experiences, but they also point towards if you enter the sacred place. So in order to enter that sacred place, you pass by the scary figures, and it keeps those out that cannot yet deal with it, and allows people in that are willing to confront the monsters.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I wonder if we can take that somehow and map it on to the World Cup final, right? Like what are the dragons? Is it the crowd? Is it the cameras? I think the path forward is stepping onto the field and playing, right? Like that's what that kind of growth path is. Do you guys see that mapping on in some ways?
It is all of that you
really
mentioned. Anything that you find scary, wherever your mind
Mm-hmm.
goes. If your mind goes, I'm afraid I will not be great, and tomorrow I show up on the front page of the newspaper. There's your monster.
Mm-hmm.
My partner is watching, and I want to perform well for her and or my family. There's your monster. And these archetypal patterns show we will have monsters. Whatever.
The opponent would be a monster for some people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not getting beat by them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I get to defend Mbappe or Messi.
Mm-hmm. Formidable monsters out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or thinking too much about the consequences for your career. If I perform, do really well, then I might make this new step, or really a lot of moments that are things that we're saying is taking us away from the present moment, which is the present moment is where that creativity is, where that attunement with your own potential can be felt and experienced.
Yeah.
The moment that we leave, it's almost like, oh, that's already the first sign. I'm too busy with what's going on there. Let me tune back in.
Yeah,
and it's so easy. Go ahead.
Well, those are the moments you're watching the monsters and you're getting engaged with them. And what the dynamics show is you just need to continue to walk and not engage with the monsters on the path. And
yeah, that's an interesting take. I like that. And there's a in my own experience, and I think for people, there's a gravity, right? We're using the words weight and matter. There's a gravity that pulls out to that. People watching you, the storybooks, what the narrative's going to be. There's in these big games, there's some gravity that's pulling you out into something other than kind of like this monk-like existence of like, hey, I play a game and this is what I do and this is how I do it. Right? There's things that kind of pull you away from it that are good to be mindful of.
Yeah. So what we can learn is that when winning matters, monsters show up, and the technique lies continue to walk, get into that into the temple, the place of creativity. And how do you do that? Well, there's multiple ways. stay close to your body, the breathing, don't entertain these thoughts too much. You just need to have a skill set. A certain direction helps. So that, I need to continue to walk. I play to win. They all can help a person perform really well at the World Cup, or on a smaller scale, you're going to play for the first team for the first time and they're watching how you do, or you this job interview, or you have a lecture in front of 50, 500 people, any time that performance matters.
Yeah, and I also think like this is so nice with going forward. Like we've got the semifinals, finals, and then all the other games that will follow. But really to look at what am I looking at? Am I looking at people playing to win, or am I looking at people defending something, their safety, their reputation, their imago, or what am I? What am I looking at? Playing to win, like because the first game that you ever that we ever went to, Michiel, that Ajax, they were playing to win, and they might not have won. That could have been the outcome, and it was a nice bonus. But the joy of looking at people going wholeheartedly in, there's really bodily resonance there.
Yeah, they enter the temple, and some players have also more joy. Like in the past, Ronaldinho, the joy for the game was just oozing through him, and I think that Maradona appeared to have more joy than Messi. You don't see the joy as much in Messi as in Maradona. And that's a weird thing to say because Messi is arguably the best ever. But so it doesn't mean you cannot perform or that he doesn't have joy. But there's something to say when a player has joy. And I think the French team has a lot of joy in it. So that bodes well on that level for them. Did you have a lot of joy when you played, John?
Oh, at times not. Or I enjoy from satisfaction from doing something well, kind of thing. Not a hugely expressive person in ways that Ronaldinho would be.
You're more like Messi, a little bit less expressive, still performing.
Yeah, somewhere in between those two. But I want to pick up like what you said, joy and like kind of infectiousness of it. And I think there's a parallel here to what we're talking about when people walk, this idea of facing monsters and kind of still growing and still heading forward, right? And how inspirational that is. And athletes often represent these people who are heroes in some ways, taking on these big forces for us. And I think in our circles, right, if we're focused on helping people grow, those examples also like are so important, to see, hey, this person took on this challenge. They had a divorce. They had someone die in their family, and they took it on in a way to open their hearts, to move forward, to face the fears, face the pains, right? Those kind of heroic stories that are off the field.
Open heart as the medicine for dealing with matter.
And some Akke-Jeanne's brought up before, people having support, right? I think where the monsters get too big and scary, sometimes we need people to help us figure our way through them, right? We need guides to understand them better. So that would be there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have a next week in which we will see what will happen and who will be the one that wins.
Yeah, and then next time we'll discuss and then what happens after you arrived, you achieved, you made, you wrote a book, you have the relationship of your dreams, you have the job you want, or you carry the golden ball around.
Yeah.
Great. Look forward to talking with you both then.
Likewise, John. Good to see you, Akke-Jeanne.
Likewise.